Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Hey, today I'm going to jump back on the Yamaha, the AT-1 to CT-1, and I've got some switch work to do. I've been also doing some more electrical work as far as replacing sheathing and repairing wires on this one. Seems like I put all that stuff I really don't like to do off to the last, and that's certainly what I've done here. But I've got two switches, and neither one of them are the greatest, but the things are really hard to find these days, and when you do find them, they're very expensive. So what I want to do is take parts off of both of them and make one, and that way at least I'll have a presentable switch. Anyhow, I've already got the one that I'm going to use kind of done and set aside, and I've got part of it painted over here, so it's this bottom part is black, so that's painted and it's drying. But what I thought I would do is just take you through opening these up and putting them back together, just so you can do it if you need to. So let's get you overhead here and we'll get on that. All right, we're gonna get with this switch here in just a minute. I know everybody, they keep asking me about the sleeving I use. The black, of course, is used on the Suzukis, and this is the gray that is used on the Yamahas, and it comes from the same people that I get all my connectors and terminals and all that from, and that is vintageconnections.com. And you know, I am not affiliated with them at all. I just use their product. I buy it all myself, and I do that because it's good stuff and it works. The tools I use for the connections and the terminals, same place. Everything you can get from them. They're reasonably priced, and they're really quick service. Okay, so we're done with that. And you know, I don't mind telling people when something works that I use. You know, I don't care. I'm in the hobby just like you folks are, and if it works for me, it'll work for you. And a lot of people don't know where to get things, and that's where we're getting at. Anyhow, what I'm doing here is I've got a couple switches, and I actually have this one already set up. This outer shell used to be on this one, and you can see the kind of green looking, just kind of nasty looking thing. This one's not much better, but it is somewhat better. And this is the one I'm going to use on the AT-1 to CT-1. And I've already been through it. I've got it how I want it. I just need to get it put back together. But before I do that, I want to show you some differences in the two switches. I'm really only seeing two things that are different. And the first one I'll show you now. This is the back cover of the one I'm going to use, and you'll notice that it has this little stay on it here, and that actually puts another, it looks like a connection here in the bottom, but it's not really a connection. It's just holding this this wire stay. And this one here does not have that stay, and it doesn't have this extra brad in the bottom of it either. I'm not real sure how this one is actually, because I bought it where it wasn't on the bike. It does have this little clip here, but it doesn't have that stay. So I don't know whether it just lays there or whether it's tied up somehow, but you know, this is, I believe that's how it really goes, just like that, yeah. And another problem that I was having with the switch, the one I'm going to use, was that the key would come out. And you know, you don't want that. You don't want the key falling out when you're going down the road or whatever. But in the process of doing all this, I was able to fix that. But anyhow, this is the one I'm going to use. I've got the lower attaching point already painted, so I'll be putting that one back together, but I've got something else that I want to show you. So before we tear into this thing, let's just take a look at, see, I've got the switch all the way to the left, which would be the off position, and I've got my ohm meter here. And when you do this, see this edge of the connector that's kind of dished out here? This side's flat. On this side over here, that's where you want to check your wiring. You're going to go always from that one with your ground, and then you go across here, and we're not getting anything. That's because the switch is off. We go to the first position, and again, right there on that one. And now we've got continuity on the middle one, but not on this one. Okay, so we go to the next position, and always go back to that same one. Now I've got continuity there and there. Okay. So it's good to test it before you start. And what I had noticed on this one was that the wire, the center wire, the red wire, was just almost broken free down here. So I had to resolder that. That was the first thing I needed to do. And of course we're going to change the sheathing on this too, but I've already changed it on this one. That's the one I'm going to use. So that's the one we'll be going through. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go ahead and take the two screws out of the bottom. Now it's best to do this with a key in it. I suppose if you don't have a key and need to change the tumblers or something, that's something that you would have to do. And I'm not going to get into changing tumblers. I'm not sure that I could do it. But I know that if you don't have a key in there, when you get to the tumbler part, a lot of stuff is going to fall apart. And there's little springs and tumblers and so on there. Okay, so we've taken this apart, and like I said, on the other one we've got the extra one over here, but this is only for the stay. It absolutely connects no power. It's just to hold that. This one here, you're just going to have the 4. And when you take this apart, you notice that you've got a wide gap right here and a narrower one here, and those fit right here. So this plate essentially only goes on one way, and that's how it goes. So if you look at, you see the offset of the screws here? If you look at that being up while you're looking down the barrel of it there, and that, all your connectors are going right up here. Now, here is one of the things I want to show you. Okay, see this piece in here? I'm going to pull that out. that it sets, it's got an oblong slot there that fits on this one here. And you notice that this one has this little area right here. Well, this one doesn't. Doesn't have that piece. But what it has is a little tit here that goes into a slot, and that is going to keep you from putting it in wrong. This one doesn't. So on this one, the proper position is up, with this up here like this. If you have these screws, like I was saying, toward the upper. So this piece here is going to be right here. If you get it in wrong, when you do your continuity check, when you finish the assembly, you won't have the continuity in the right place. All you got to do is pull it out, turn it, flip it over 180 degrees, and you're good to go. So we're going to continue on through this one, and this one here is the one that I've already assembled for myself here. And just to show you where that little tit goes, I was showing you, it goes right here. That's where it's going to slide into that groove. So if I turn it, right here it is, and that is up here. There it is. Okay, so we pull this piece out, and these little connections on here are terminals. They got a little spring under them. These are all captured. They have these little clips here on each side that hold them in, keep them from falling out. So unless something's really damaged there, you're not going to have to worry about that falling apart. The next piece that we've got in here that we need to pull out is this right here. And take note that it has bumps here on the top. Okay. It's you got the hills here and the valleys over here. So the hills go up while you're assembling it. Now, the next thing that's got to come out, and like I said, this is a lot better done if you've got the key in. I'm not real sure what's going to happen. I know that at least the piece that I'm fixing to depress to take this apart will come out, because the key had slipped out on me once before and it did fall out. But in the position that we're in, you know, we had it like this and now we're like this, so these screw holes are at the bottom. You'll take note that the key number is right here. It's in the off position, so it's to the left. So that's where you want to put it back to. Okay, we're going to go in here, and right here you'll see this little, it just kind of goes, it slides back in. It's held by a spring, and you push that and push down on the center, and you can see what's happening there. The whole, oops, that's not what we want to happen. I'm going to slip that right back in there real quick. Be careful. I think I recovered. It's probably best not to pull on that key. Let's see if I can get this depressed again. Okay, down. And I'm going to pull on the cylinder instead of the key. Okay, and that's what we depressed right there. That's what we pushed down with the awl. And see, here's all your tumblers. And as long as the key is in there, they're okay. They're in there. Now, if you had to change a key or something, I think I would probably take it to a locksmith. I don't know. There's probably a lot of people out there that could do it, but I don't know. We'll just, I don't have to do it, so I'm not going to. And to lubricate this, you want a graphite type lubricant. This is just something that I'd picked up a few years back at Ace Hardware, I think, or something like that. So anyhow, that's all your parts. So what you do is you just clean everything up. You put a little bit of the graphite lubricant on there, and you just stick this thing back in there. And again, you're wanting, with these at the bottom, you want that number to the left, and you're going to do kind of the reverse. You've got to push that same little thing in and then drop it back in there. And now it's just as it was. You're not gonna feel any indentations there. Okay, then we've got this, and it doesn't go in any particular way except with the hills up. All that does is, I think, gives you your detent. And it also gives you a little hassle. There, okay. All right. And once again, we're holding this like that, with our holes up. And then this piece on this particular one goes up. Just got to fit into the groove there. I think we're there. Okay. Then you get your connection end here, and you line up the wide one and the narrow one. And I've got some electrical grease there, the dielectric grease. Just gives it some lubrication, and that fits in there like that. Then you go ahead and hold that all right, over the top, and line those up, put your screws back in. All right, so that's how it goes on the bike. So we'll go ahead and my meter just shut off just as I was getting ready to start using it again, and that's the way it goes. All right, so we're in the off position, which is all the way to the left, and we're starting out with our, over here where the cutout is in the connector. That's where our ground goes. And we should not have continuity in either one of these, and we don't. Okay, then we go to the first position, get our common back where it should be. We should have it in the center one, and we do. Nothing over here. That's correct. Okay. Now we'll go to the next position. And we should have continuity in the middle and the outside one. We do. And we do. Okay. So that's not a big thing. It's just knowing where to push that little plunger in there, basically. You know, taking the screws out, no big deal. If you have a loose wire or something, I would suggest soldering it at this point, you know, assembled. You could do it with this piece off, but with it like this, you can put it in a vise or something and hold it, and that way you're not chasing it all over your table. But this was the one that was pulling out in the first, let's see here, the first slot, and now it's not. So I think what it was some of those tumblers. It was releasing it, and now it's not. So the only place it comes out is on the off. So that one's good. This one here, the only thing I really need to do to it right now is go ahead and change the sheathing. And you've seen me do quite a few of these. It's you just use your little terminal tool to pick out each wire, and before you do that, make sure you make yourself a map showing the positions. And I always go from the cutout down, and I'll do that later, but you've seen me do enough of that, so I'll go ahead and assemble the one I'm going to use. And like I say, this one is a little bit different because it has the alignment pin here, so you're not going to get it messed up, or hopefully you don't. So that piece is in there, and then we're ready for our terminals. Oops, I've got that backwards. Goes like that. And then I'll take my new painted, if I can get it on there right. That, and I'm using the better of the screws in this side too, or in this one too. The other one had one pretty rusty head on it. That's all I'm doing with this one, is I'm trying to use all the best parts I have. And these switches are really getting up there as far as price goes on them anymore. They're hard to find in any kind of good condition, and they're very expensive, and they're all wore out. Okay, so we've got our numbers right here. We've got our, let's see, that's positioned correct. We've got the numbers to the left of the key. We've got 1, 2. Okay, so we're in the off position, and we're going to ground here at where the little U is on the terminal, and shouldn't have anything. And we don't. Okay, go to our first position. We should have continuity in the middle one. Yeah. That's hard to hold on to. And we do. And nothing here. We don't. And we go to the other position. And should have it in both. And we do. So we've got a good switch. And we've got our new sleeving. And it's ready to go. It's not a bad job. It's just kind of knowing where and how to take the thing apart. Like I said, I'm not getting into the tumblers. If I had to, I'd probably do it. But all I know is if you leave the key in there, you're not going to have to worry about them. They're going to stay there. And that's what I worry about. All right. I've got all the wiring ready, I believe. I just redid the tachometer and the speedometer wires and the ignition wire, and the main harness was just had a little problem down here, so that's all I fixed. Everything else is intact on this, which is very rare, and I will go ahead and put one of my my new little fuses in there. These just, they pop on, they pull through the disconnector, or quick disconnects there, so you can always put that back in. So not a big deal. I've already got the left handlebar switch up here, and it's already rewrapped and good to go. And the same with the switch here. This bike that I'm working on, actually it's going to be painted the 70 color, but it's actually got the 71 type. You know, I don't think you'd have the brake light switch on the front brake, but I'm not going back original. It's just I'm using a bunch of parts as parts I've got laying around. So what I end up with, I end up with. So everything is good. I've got all the cables on, and it's coming along pretty good. It's to the point where I was at with the Suzuki a couple weeks ago, and it's just getting the wiring situated and back on the bike. And I've got to actually work on the tachometer and speedometer on this one. Okay, that's something I'll be doing pretty soon, is I need to go ahead and open these up. I believe these both work. I'll check them again before I start tearing them apart. But you can see we've got a light lens out here, and I do have the lens, but it's I'm going to have to figure out a way to paint them. That's supposed to be an amber one, and of course this is the green one. And both of those are pretty sun faded. I think I've got a good glass on both of them, but they need to be taken apart, and we're going to put new decals for the inside of them, and of course clean everything out. And I'll probably go ahead and reset the speedometer back to 0, and just a lot of little stuff like that. But we're kind of down to the leftover items with this bike also, and it's always comes down to the paint and the wiring at last. Anyway, it does for me, because neither one of those are is what I enjoy, so they're kind of put off to the end. And I really don't enjoy taking these things apart. They're kind of a pain. They're more of a pain than the Suzuki ones, but they're built a little better, I do have to say. Okay guys, there you have it. Little switch maintenance on the Yamaha AT-1 to CT-1. It's not too bad a job. You just kind of got to know where to go in there and poke around, and you can do it. Thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.